I'm a girl with the for the Gators.
Okay.
I was just checking to see if you were listening.
From Cheyenne, Louisiana. Hold on a second.
Hey, guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
Momentum, excitement, energy. They say all this stuff, and you know what they mean, but it doesn't describe what you mean. It's just sort of out there.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
I was just worried about, listening to, all your guys' rap poison.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. Here are your hosts, Sergio and Tyler.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today, Tyler, might be one of the episodes that I am most excited to record in the history of the podcast.
Boy, do we have things to talk about. There's some weeks on this show, and that every episode is great and so much fun to record. But there's some weeks where you're like, okay, not a lot happened. So we're just talking about the games, and even then, sometimes it's chalk, and it's still always fun, never a bad time. But then there's days like today where I'm so pumped to talk about everything that we're going to talk about in this episode, and I already know I'll woefully feel like I will have not covered enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you right now from jump, this episode is going to go long. All right, ladies, this is going to be a longer than normal Sideline Judgment episode. Clearly, you clicked on it and you saw the entire runtime, but I promise you we will make it worth your while. I promise you we will talk about damn near everything that happened over the course since the last time we recorded, Tyler, which was last Wednesday. All right, Tyler, let's jump right in. We're going to get to the games from last week. We're going to get to Conference Championship week, but we have to begin with the massive news. Silly season is no longer a season, Tyler. It's a state of mind at this point. It's a state of mind.
Existence. It's a state of being.
It just is.
There are schools of philosophy are founded around this idea.
It's a modern day Euripides. This is what it is. This is what we are at this point. The coaching carousel.
This silly season has everything.
Okay, Stefan. No, but it really does have everything. This silly season is this coaching carousel is. I don't think that our NCAA revamped dynasties that we go. No, it doesn't. And we've seen some crazy things in our NCAA revamps. Let's start with what I believe to be the biggest news. Full disclosure, it's not Florida. Shocking. I know we are Florida fans. We will talk about Billy Napier in Florida. We will talk about them when we talk about the Florida State game. That Florida won, by the way. Just wanted to point that out for no specific reason. Yeah. We will talk about it then. We'll talk about the Gators at that point. We need to be respectable journalists and talk about the bigger news first. Tyler, I'm going to give you the option. Do you want to talk about Lincoln Riley's exit from Oklahoma to USC first, or do you want to talk about Brian Kelly going to Louisiana and leaving Notre Dame?
I would like to talk. Let's talk about it chronologically. Lincoln Riley happened first, so let's just that happened first in the day. And yes, most of this happened in one day.
Most of this happened within 16 hours of each other, but.
So yeah, Lincoln Riley is now the new head coach of the USC Fighting Trojans. Lincoln Riley and I live in the same city.
You have a neighbor. You have a new neighbor, my friend.
Which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. A subsection of this silly season makes it so great is that it's one of the few silly seasons this doesn't always happen, where fans of programs that don't often go through coaching changes are having to deal with it. So seeing that is very fun. Florida fans are actually probably used to this at this point, but
which is sad, but we'll talk about that later.
No, Lincoln Riley said on Saturday night after losing to Oklahoma State, which doesn't happen. First of all, said in a press conference, let me stop you right there. I will not be the next head coach of the LSU Tigers.
He cut off a journalist. He cut off a journalist, ladies and gentlemen.
Which, I mean, credit to him. He's right.
He wasn't lying.
Only for everybody to wake up the next day, and he's now the new head coach at USC, which, by the way, USC, just spectacular job.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think it's something to be said.
I was so prepared for this to go horribly. for you.
Me too.
Like,
it's something to be said about Heritage Hall, where there's a lot of jokes about how Heritage Hall, too many people kind of have their hands in the cookie jar, too many chefs in the kitchen. But it's something to be said that they went out and they got a top 3 coach in college football, in my opinion. Like, if you can't get Nick Saban, Lincoln Riley is a pretty good consolation prize there.
Also, if you look at Oklahoma's current recruiting class, most of them are kids from Southern California.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the recruiting.
Those are
I want to talk about the
Riley
recruiting.
commits. Those are not
Correct.
But no, I think this is an excellent hire. Lincoln Riley. Okay. If you get the reported contract details, there's no way Lincoln Riley, in my opinion, can say no to that job. Enormous amount of money. They would buy both of his houses in Norman, which is crazy because he has 2 houses. Why does anyone need 2 houses in the same city? And like the USC would unload everything. They will buy him a $6 million house in LA, which is basically nothing. I live here. I know. But just USC was able to like, okay, Lincoln Riley can recruit, by the way. Like, that's the thing that he can do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's the thing that USC needs to be able to do. They also need a good head coach. And guess what? They've been running air raid for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
So what do they do? They got the best air raid coach, the best modern air raid coach in the game. And I know there's a thing about Mike Leach. Mike Leach is the true air raid.
Right.
But like Lincoln Riley is the best air raid style offensive mind currently coaching college football, in my opinion.
If you don't know Lincoln Riley's background, he's 38 years old. Obviously, you know him for these past 5 years coaching Oklahoma. But before that, he grew up in West Texas. He's from Lubbock. Grew up in West Texas and played at Texas Tech. Was in that like revolution with Cliff Kingsbury, that kind of group. So his offensive mentality derives from the air raid. So it's not air raid, but it derives from it. Just so that we're clear. I know you were trying to say, but just so we can make it clear.
Well, the funny thing is that like with air raid is that there is only really, in my opinion, one true air raid team in the country. It's whatever team Mike Leach coaches, because everybody else everyone who runs an air raid just runs a version of that. Like,
correct,
because it's
the true air raid has like 7 plays, literally.
Yeah. And Lincoln Riley doesn't do that. Lincoln Riley's a brilliant offensive mind. I think here's the thing: we have had conversations with a friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, about this, and last season, I had this position about some coaches, and I was alone. And I think, Sergio, you kind of joined me on this. It is kind of documented that Lincoln Riley didn't like the idea of Oklahoma going to the SEC.
Yeah, that has now been unofficially confirmed. I know that's an oxymoron, but he hasn't come out and said it publicly, but there have been a lot of reports coming out of Oklahoma that he was not a fan of that decision.
Which, that's the thing. I never understood. The move from Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC only makes sense if you think about money, which is what most people think about. So, but like,
it's what the people making the decisions think about.
Well, and that's the thing. From a competitive standpoint, it's worse for everybody because now you added 2 big dogs. Well, I mean, we could argue about Texas, but Texas can recruit.
At the very least, 2 big names and 2 big brands.
2 big names you've added to your conference. That is already the toughest conference to get through to get to the playoffs. You're adding them. So, like, from the teams in the conference, doesn't really make sense from a competitive standpoint. From the 2 teams entering it, Texas, Oklahoma, you were already the 2 big names in your conference. Oklahoma, you run the Big 12. So you are now choosing to go to a conference where you are arguably at absolute best the 3rd best program. And I don't know if I would say, you cannot argue to me that Oklahoma is better than Alabama and Georgia.
Alabama or Georgia. You're right.
And like, there are arguments to be made that certain programs under certain coaches and will have the resources to be better than Oklahoma. Oklahoma at their height under Lincoln Riley is at best the 3rd best program. And they went from being far and away the 1st. Lincoln Riley, I think, recognized that. If you want to win a national championship, go to USC. Because guess what? Oregon is the only team out there that really is in your way from a recruiting standpoint. And also, in complete honesty, Mario Cristobal can't get his team over hump. He's only been the head coach for like 2-3 years. So there's that happened. But like, Oregon had a runaway path to the playoff this year, and they fumbled that. At USC, with your recruiting ability, your offensive mind, the money you can get, and the fact that now you only have to beat 2 playoff teams that are in the playoff. You don't have to beat 2 or 3 in the regular season. This is, to me, if you want to win a national championship and you want to make more money, This is the no-brainer.
So let me ask you, Tyler, because
no disrespect to LSU.
well, that's where I'm going.
Disrespect to LSU.
Well, that's where I'm going, because my cousin Vinny, who is an LSU alum, and I asked him, I said, well, we'll talk about his opinions on Brian Kelly a little bit later, but one thing that in my conversations with him over the past few days that has come up is the idea that Lincoln Riley was scared, right? He's saying that, we didn't, you know what, if Riley wasn't willing to go through and come to the hardest conference, and it's basically a Greg Sankey SEC printout of this is what we say about the SEC. You know, the best conference and the best talent, blah, 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 all that stuff. If he didn't want to come here, then I don't want a coach that's going to hide and duck away from that kind of competition. I personally am of the belief, if you're going to give me all of that money, I have an easier path to win a national championship, and I have probably an easier quality of life, because if we're being honest with each other,
he has to live in Los Angeles.
Well, it's not just Los Angeles, it's not just LA, but let's dissect this real quick. And I had this conversation with my stepdad Raul and my brother Diego, by the way, distraught. But
welcome to true college football fandom, Diego. We welcome you here.
We welcome you with open arms. But in defense of him and in defense of Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley in Norman was God, judge, jury, lawyer, execute. He was everything. He could not go anywhere without people bowing at his feet, right? If he went to LSU, it's the same thing. I don't know who the governor of the state of Louisiana is, but I know that he doesn't matter compared to who the head coach at LSU is, because that person has more influence on the state of Louisiana, just like Nick Saban in the state of Alabama. Those people have the way football works in the South. It's a cultural thing. And in parts like Texas and in Oklahoma, and I bet you in Nebraska with Scott Frost and stuff like that, the head coach has that kind of power over the city and the area they are. Maybe he didn't want that. In LA, he can go, and while, yes, I'm sure maybe 4 out of 10 people walking down the sidewalk will be able to go, oh, that's Lincoln Riley, coach of USC. It's not like he's going to be this well-known, every single person knows who he is. He can kind of blend in with all of the hoopla that is Los Angeles.
And that's the thing, is that like there is
you're the one that lives there. So is that true? I don't know.
Passion for USC and UCLA in this city, because there's a lot of people that went there. But you are living in a big city that, like, okay, take it from me. I'm into LA for reasons that have nothing to do with sports in any capacity. I happen to like sports. Right. I am one of the few people who do it for the reasons that I did, who do happen to like sports, just in the industry that I work with. Like, and you are in a part of the country that doesn't care as much about college football. But it's a weird thing where, like, on game day, there is passion for USC, but it does not permeate throughout the entire city, because the city's freaking huge. And yeah, you can go and not be recognized. And
it doesn't have the cultural impact.
Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, because, like, hey, we lived in Gainesville. I loved it.
I did too. I loved it.
But it is something where, like, do you want to spend the rest of your life there?
That's true.
And that's true. There's an element of when you are the celebrity of that place. Is that okay? I mean, I know this is a long time ago. There was, like, times back in the Urban Meyer days where Megan Mullen had always talked about, like, she would go grocery shopping in a different county. Because she didn't like the fact that people knew her. Right. You don't have to do that here. Maybe you do. I don't know. Like,
well, rather than going to another county,
Riley ain't living in the area I live, so
right. Well, maybe they don't have to go to a different county, but maybe they just have to go to a different Whole Foods. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm trying to be serious. You know,
it's just
I feel like that's something that could have had more of a role. And, like, I'm a little hesitant to. I think that multiple things can be true, right? In the words of the great Daryl Grove, rest in peace, from Total Talker Show, two things can be true, right? I think that he can think I don't want to go to the SEC because it is more difficult, and thus the narrative of he's ducking and he is scared, quote unquote, has some truth to it. I also think it absolutely has some merit. Yeah, I also think it's also true that maybe with 2 girls that are under 10 years old, which is what his family is, he maybe wanted to move away from a smaller town, which I've been to Norman. It's a beautiful place, no disrespect, but maybe he wanted to try something different. He's been in that West Texas Oklahoma football coach mentality mind his entire life. Maybe he wanted to try something different. And I don't think we should vilify someone for that reason. Now, I will say this, Tyler. I will say this. I think the way he did it was wrong. I think the way he did it was wrong.
I can't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
What I was going to say real quick was that
yes, I'm so sorry.
Your previous point was that there is an element of he's scared, but he's also like, I think this motivation, this move could be motivated slightly, like two things can be true. Could be motivated slightly by the quote unquote scaredness of going to the SEC. It also could be motivated by the fact that he's not stupid, because there is. The line between bravery and stupidity is very blurred and very hard to discern, because there's a lot of times where it's just no, we play the best teams all the time, and I'm like, okay, well, it's like the idea of we should never schedule FCS teams, and I'm like, all right, if that were the case, great, but also so you just don't want to win a game, So it's a tough thing, and I know that a lot of people are going to hate that answer, and I kind of hate it too. But it's a matter of the reality is he went to USC, which is the only job possibly that he could have pulled him away.
I think a lot of stars aligned, albeit at the wrong time. I think a lot of stars aligned, and. Yeah, I'm not going to vilify him for that. I will criticize him for the way it happened.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to vilify him for that, and I'm not going to say he's any less of a coach or less of a man because he took USC and not LSU.
No, that's not the reason. I don't like the way that he did it.
Yeah,
I don't like the way a lot of these coaches do this stuff.
I think it's indicative of a cultural issue that we have in college football where it's okay for a coach to quite literally abandon a team, and players have to go through 15 hoops to be able to transfer. Now, with the advent of the transfer portal, it has gotten easier, but it's not to say that it's easy. Tyler, did you know? Well, I know you knew this, but I'm going to pretend you didn't. Did you know that when you enter the transfer portal, you forego your scholarship?
I did know
just by entering,
putting your name in it,
you are foregoing. And if you come back, your scholarship is not guaranteed. Now, obviously, the top of the top players most likely are going to get that scholarship back. But there have been instances of players who have gone away, who have entered the portal. Excuse me. They have entered the portal. They have then not been able to find anything. They come back to that same team. They will come back as a walk-on, and then they have to pay their way through their last year of eligibility. That's not right. If a coach can go out and talk and not have his contract messed up, why can't a player go out and talk and try and see if they can, find a better situation for them? Now, I understand, there's different. That's a deeper conversation that we're not going to get into right now. But I think that is indicative of a problem that leads to these coaches leaving in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley. And I'll tell you this right now. I'll tell you this right now. My brother Diego told me that the people in Norman they're not just livid, Tyler. They are out of their mind, hurt. It's like one of their friends betrayed them. It's not just a business thing. Lincoln Riley was one of them. There are banners on the campus of University of Oklahoma that say traitor. There are banners that say, 5 Heisman trophies without Lincoln, or 7 national.
God.
There are. No, I don't think. And I'm actually on their side on this one, because I think that this is a bigger conversation about what college football means to places like Oklahoma, to places like Auburn, to places like LSU, to these southern and Midwestern type of town, to Lincoln, Nebraska. It's similar to the, what we had talked about, being recognized and being a god in there. They become a part of who that city's identity is, Steve Spurrier is part of the Gainesville identity.
Yeah.
There's a certain part to that. And if Steve Spurrier upped and left the day after losing to Florida State, and then went off and took a different job without telling anyone, we would be out of our minds angry. And I feel like they've gotten to a point in stages of grief or whatever where they're just, they're just sad about it, and I don't blame them. Like you know, that's why I really disagree with how he did it. I'm not judging him for doing it.
Well,
but the way he went about it, it really hurts because I feel for Oklahoma, and not just because, you know, my brother, one of the people closest to me in my life, I see how much he's going through and all that stuff. And honestly, it kind of makes me feel a little happy because I'm like, oh, he really cares. He's that's it.
Yeah,
He's one of us.
really
He's one of us.
Yeah.
But I feel bad, you know?
There are definitely ways he could have salvaged his own reputation because, like, he was God in Oklahoma. Man. And yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think is hilarious is that I saw like a tweet about it's just like a Mexican restaurant in Oklahoma. Like they said, we're taking away Lincoln Riley's privileges that we gave him and whatnot. And I'm like, first of all, he no longer lives there. Second of all, and somebody else tweeted, it's just like, too bad Lincoln Riley. I wonder if Lincoln Riley will be able to find Mexican food in Check's notes, Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was funny. That was a good one.
But so things like that where I'm like, get a hold of yourself. Like, yeah. But
no, I get that.
But I do understand where it comes from. And it's also Oklahoma as a job. Here's the tough thing. Florida has not had to deal with this yet. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma is a job that is on that list. And I thought this list was infallible, but this list has in the last 5 years really taken some hits. Oklahoma was a job we all considered. You don't leave that job for another college job.
It was a bulletproof job.
Yeah, it's bulletproof. And somebody did. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame was that job. I forget. FSU was that job, and Jimbo skedaddled on out of there, largely because he screwed it up himself. But wow, it just those three were 5 years ago jobs that you're like, you have this job, you leave for the NFL. That's understandable. Mm-hmm. You don't leave voluntarily.
Or if you do leave, it's because another one of those bulletproof jobs that you have an emotional attachment with opened up.
Like people, and Clemson wasn't always this job. Clemson kind of is now, but it's like, it's considered that, but is it really?
I'm not putting it in that category.
Well, so the thing is that Clemson is on the level right now of those jobs in terms of their current status as a program, but they've never done it without Dabo. So it's unsure, but everyone, I don't think when Alabama opens up that Dabo should leave because he's got it humming at Clemson. That may change if he doesn't get it back on course from their terrible 9-3 season. But it's if Clemson continues to be what they've been for the last 7 years and Alabama leaves, I'm I don't think you should leave, but no one would blame him if he did go back to his alma mater because it's his alma mater.
Right.
But again, so Oklahoma was that job that at least in the Big 12, you don't leave this job.
No.
And
it is an end result, not a stepping zone.
It is an end result,
not a stepping stone.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of jobs that are considered end results. Here's the thing, Florida fans, we've had a lot of things. We've never had somebody leave the job for another college job. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, it would mean that somebody's doing a really good job. So, but that would also mean that somebody is Florida's not at the level better than those things. So,
right.
And it's tough because USC is not a better team by Oklahoma by any standards. Mm-hmm. Their situation is more favorable if you want to win a national championship, though. I have to keep stressing this because there is that whole thing, and we'll move on in just a second. But because we spent a lot of time on this,
yeah, we did.
There is a part of it where it's just there's the competitive argument that Lincoln Riley is not competitive enough to go be in the SEC. There's also the other part of it is if you really want to win a national championship, you would do everything in your power to make that happen. Going to USC will make that easier for you, which means that because you still have to play the same games. So.
No, I see you.
I keep justifying the smarts behind it.
No, and I understand
what I would do. But it's not
I understand
how I
the smarts behind
it.
Right, exactly. It's what I would do, but it's not how I would have handled it. I completely agree. 2 seconds, even though I think we're in agreement. This was all how it happened and the situation and the shock of the move. On the football field and on the recruiting trail, it's over for the rest of the Pac-12, right? This is it. It's
barring anything barring anything that we cannot predict, this is likely the greatest hire USC could have made.
This might be the greatest hire, one of the greatest hires in college football history, apart from a Bear Bryant to Bama, a Nick Saban to Bama.
The history thing is something we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
The capability is there. That could easily fall apart, but
right.
I think it's for so far it's the best hire of this offseason, in my opinion, just because of it's like we're all like James Franklin to USC. But I think I think Lincoln Riley's a better coach than James Franklin. But the thing is that Lincoln Riley's off the table is my thing.
Here's the thing. I joked around with my friends. I said, okay, I think Billy Napier was the best available coach on the market. Yeah, that's because I didn't think Lincoln Riley was available.
Or Brian Kelly.
Exactly.
That's the thing. And we are hearing a bit Florida's hire, which we'll talk about in a little bit, doesn't look as good now because these big coaches were pulled away. And I'm like, you can't expect us to reasonably have thought that was even possible.
Both of those things.
When I heard LSU was going after Lincoln Riley, I'm like, okay, yeah, right.
Right. Well, let's use that to transition then. Brian Kelly is now the coach at LSU.
Talk about not handling it right.
Talk about Well, I want to. Yeah. Okay. Talk about not handling it right. Let's talk about the LSU search because LSU. We can confirm.
I was talking about Brian Kelly, but that also is that is also a factor.
No. Well, let's start with LSU and then we'll move to Brian Kelly. LSU's coaching search. We have had confirmed reports that they have gone after Jimbo Fisher and struck out, Lincoln Riley and struck out, James Franklin, who signed an extension at Penn State, Mel Tucker, who signed an extension at Michigan State. They went 0 for 4 on these supposedly big name hires that Scott Woodward is quote unquote known for in the business.
Yeah.
And then they have a guy in Billy Napier who you and I for years we have audio record Florida fans and our friends who think that we're ridiculous. We have audio record. I've been a Billy Napier fan for like a year and a half now. Oh yeah.
I was dreading because I thought he was going to take the LSU job. I thought he turned down Auburn and it was all setting up for him. And
what's the first thing I texted you when the news broke about Billy Napier?
You remember when you said imagine if Billy Napier was in Florida 2 years ago? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Absolutely. Because that's what you specifically, and then I came around about a year later. And now he's at Florida. But here's the thing. He was an hour down the road from LSU. And the reports have been that the LSU kind of community was, how do I put this nicely without slandering them? But they thought they were better. LSU was better than hiring the guy at the directional school an hour down the road from them. It's true. That's what it was. They overlooked him. They said that's not a big enough hire for us, for LSU. And for a long time, it looked like, man, you guys probably should have gone and taken a look at Billy Napier. And then a rabbit is pulled out of a hat. Or dare I say, a leprechaun is pulled out of a hat. Dare I say, Jesus Christ himself is pulled out of a hat.
All right.
I was going with the Irish and the Catholicism. I know. I was going with the Catholicism.
You compared Brian Kelly to the Lord and Savior.
No,
Jesus
I have
Christ.
not. No, and to my mother listening, I'm sorry, Mom. It's not true. I'm blasphemy. I know. I'm sorry. I'm just joking. Anyway. But then they pull out Brian Kelly, who none of us expected to lead Notre Dame. No. And not just because Notre Dame is an elite job, because it is an elite job. As much as I make fun of Notre Dame, it is an elite job. I make fun of them for not joining a conference, not for not being a good program, which join a conference, by the way. They pulled Brian Kelly. We didn't think he would leave because he was just such a perfect fit for that job, right? The way he recruited, his discipline, his integrity. Notre Dame and Michigan are these schools that kind of pride themselves on, we take a higher quality of a student athlete. We emphasize the student and student
which
athlete.
Which is, a little stupid, but
it's a little self-effacing, but whatever. That's fine. That's what they do. It's their brand. And then you have the coppest of all cops. This man's going down to the bayou. He's working.
There needs to be a documentary crew at all times on chronicling Brian Kelly's just whole experience.
Tyler, this is. I need a documentary crew in there going back and forth between Brian Kelly's office and Will Wade, the basketball coach's office, because they operate completely. This is going to be the Jim and Dwight of the LSU department, where Dwight is Brian Kelly telling on everyone and being a narc, and Jim is Will Wade literally paying players in cash. Doesn't care, admits to it, then gets away with it like a G.
Somehow.
The great Stephen Godfrey
also looks like Jim from The Office. So.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Stephen Godfrey from Split Zone Duo, he asked the question. He was like, is Brian Kelly ready to be a gangster? Can he be a gangster? Can he operate in that LSU mentality? And that's the biggest shock for us. I think it's a good hire. Let me be clear. Well, I think it's a good hire.
I need to clarify. So, I said this a little bit with Dan Mullen. There's an element of this. Being a good coach and doing a good job / being a good fit are not the same thing. Good coach, because the whole thing, if a good coach is defined by doing a good job at your school, Nick Saban is maybe the only good coach that exists. Because there are people
maybe
that
Dabo, maybe Dabo as well.
Nick Saban and Dabo are like the only ones, because there are people that are like, Dan Mullen didn't do a good job, therefore he can't be a good coach. I'm like, that's super not true. But it's like that. Brian Kelly is a good football coach. From a football perspective, you cannot look at what he's done at Notre Dame and say that he's not. The thing is, Notre Dame and LSU are not the same type of job.
No,
they do not require you to recruit the same type of people. They do not require many of the same type of things. They do not require Notre Dame. Brian Kelly survived 4-8 in Notre Dame, and that says something about Notre Dame as an administration, as a fan base.
Right. I give them credit.
There are many jokes that are made about it, and Notre Dame fans will make them themselves. But he survived that. You can't survive 4-8 at LSU.
At LSU, you can't survive 7-5 at LSU.
I say that more as a reason to, not that he would go 4-8, but that it's a different intensity, and now the conference is getting even tougher.
Yes, I agree. I think the leeway he had, or maybe the understanding that he had at Notre Dame, is probably going to be hard to come by at Louisiana. But I think that's one of the reasons why I was so surprised at this move. And not from a LSU perspective, because listen, like I said before, they struck out on 4 big time coaches and they let Billy Napier get out of the state. That's 5 guys that they either went after and missed on or should have gone after. But the consolation prize being Brian Kelly is pretty freaking good.
All things considered, it's way better than it probably was looking.
Mm-hmm.
It was looking like they were going to hire Bill O'Brien, and I was going to laugh.
Ooh, that was good. That would have been funny. But
Brian Kelly's a good coach.
He is.
It's just going to be a matter: can he recruit at the level he needs? Can he sustain at the level he needs? Will they give him time?
Ooh, something happened over there.
Something like that just knocked over something, but we are good out here.
We're good to go. It's all good. We're leaving this in.
One of the cats that I lived with doesn't agree with me, apparently. But anyway, it's just, he's got Bama. It's already hard. Now, the tough thing is that despite all these things, this is all the things we said about Ed Orgeron at LSU. Sorry, I'm just replugging my computer back in. This is all the things we said about Ed Orgeron at LSU. The last 3 coaches to coach at LSU have all won national championships. That was Nick Saban, so that doesn't matter, and then Les Miles and Ed O. So Brian Kelly's not a worse coach than Les Miles or Ed Orgeron. But we'll see, because Ed Orgeron assembled one of the greatest single-season teams we've ever seen. And Les Miles won that in a different era of college football in 2007, the absolute weirdest era of college football, where they had lost 2 games that season. So, caveats to all these things. We'll see. I think it is it's at the very least an okay hire. It's just we don't know how the cultural fit's going to matter.
Right. And listen, this is a hire that has grown on me, because in the moment I laughed, mostly because I was thinking of all of the second something goes wrong in LSU, the Feinbaum callers going, "This Yankee don't know how to be down here in the SEC, Paul." That's kind of like what I was laughing at and thinking of. Paul. But yeah, no, it's definitely grown on me. He's a good coach. He's a good recruiter. The question is he going to want to still recruit the way that he did at Notre Dame and just bring it down to Louisiana? Or is he willing to roll up his sleeves, get his hands dirty, and recruit the way you need to recruit in order for there to be success at the SEC?
All the gumbo? Will he do it?
Will he eat? Will he
go
eat
to
crawfish?
recruit houses, and will he eat crawfish?
Listen,
we joke, but that's a serious question for me.
Oh no, it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing for sure. Listen, the last time that some Yankee came down from the north and was the coach at LSU, it worked out pretty well. So let's see if he can go ahead and make that adjustment. And maybe this is what he needed to get over the hump, because we talk a lot about how 5 straight 10-win seasons, recruits really well, Notre Dame, but just couldn't get over that
playoff
hump.
appearances.
Pretty hard to do. So I think it's a good hire. Let's see what happens. I still think Billy Napier would have been the better hire, but that's just me being me.
I agree.
And all that jazz there. Anything you want to say about the LSU job or Brian Kelly or anything?
It's like Florida, where they probably won't be competing for anything in their first year. I
do think that the LSU roster is more talented right now than the Florida roster is. So I think there will be some level of success early on. I don't think it'll be the maximum that they can.
Perspective, correct. I think they are better.
I will say this. My cousin Vinny did say if he needs to start competing immediately and having success immediately because the roster is talented and all of that. So I'm just letting you know, Brian Kelly, the expectations amongst the fan base may not be sane, but they are high, my friend. They are high expectations. Yeah. So, alrighty, we covered the 2 big ones. I do think let's roll through. There was some other coaching news. Let's just kind of,
let's roll through
a couple things here and there about them. I listed them here in the doc, Tyler, in order of what I think the biggest jobs are. So next we have Florida with Billy Napier. We'll talk about them in a bit. Kalen DeBoer, the former Fresno State coach, is hired at Washington. Good hire, bad hire? What do you think?
I like it. It's okay. Good hire. It's just that it's my thing that Washington, I'm under the understanding, is not going to hire a big name because they don't operate like that.
Correct.
And I think I like Kalen DeBoer. I liked what he did at Fresno State. And now news just came out a couple minutes ago that Washington is considered a very high transfer target for Jake Hayner, the Fresno State quarterback.
Makes sense.
Played under Kalen DeBoer, which I think would be great. Kalen DeBoer is an offensive guy. They need offense. I think this could be really good for them.
I also think he did a really good job of recruiting the Valley area, that Northern California section. So I think having someone who's familiar with that territory, relatively close to Washington, a big recruiting section for them, I think that also helps a lot.
The only thing that I worry about is really has nothing to do with him. It's just can he get Washington out of the slump that they have now found themselves in? Because they ruled the Pac-12 for a very brief period of time, and now Oregon and now about to be USC are probably going to lap that.
Yeah.
And, they have problems beating Stanford. Washington State is also hiring somebody new, which we've already covered, I believe. Yeah. But, yeah, I like it, though.
Me too. I like the hire. Next, I have Virginia Tech, Brent Pry. He is the Brent Pry. I know I had a lot of plosives in that. He is or was the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Apparently, he was coveted for a lot of lower level jobs. I heard it reported that when Billy Napier was hired at Louisiana, he was one of the finalists for that head coaching job. So has kind of been a name for a while. It looks like they're getting back to Beamer ball. Defense, recruit. I hope so, because that's kind of the identity that we've all associated with Virginia Tech. It didn't work out very well for Justin Fuente. So maybe going back to what they think is their bread and butter, which is their bread and butter, in my opinion, historically. I think it's a good hire.
Yeah, me too.
Sonny Dykes moves across town, leaves SMU, and goes to TCU.
Look, I mean,
on Sonny Dykes' perspective or on TCU's perspective?
I'm sorry, totally. I thought of a different thing. SMU's been really good under Sonny Dykes. But Sonny Dykes has had a Power 5 job before and at Cal, and that didn't go super well. It didn't go bad necessarily. They just weren't very good. It's actually turned out to be very hard to be good at Cal, though. So,
yeah.
For TCU, I like it, actually, from the perspective of this is the direction they should have gone in this hire,
Yeah.
This is the type of offense you need to have in that league.
Yeah.
Guy has done well in SMU, so he's right down the road. So I like it for the most part. It's not, but it's like we're getting to the part of coaching where it's hard to. There are not any big swings or big pluses to me. But I liked it.
Yeah.
It's also like Sonny Dykes. What are you doing? You had it at SMU.
I mean, it's easy to do 25 minutes on Lincoln Riley, going to USC. It not so much on
it's fine.
Moving across town for Sonny
I'm
Dykes.
gonna be completely honest with you. When I said it's because for a very brief moment I switched Lou Holtz and Sonny Dykes in my head, and I didn't like. I was like, but then it's like, oh, it's Sonny Dykes. Like, no, I like that actually. It's fine. Like they need some offense.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah,
and then taking his job at SMU is Rhett Lashley, former offensive coordinator under Sonny Dykes 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and then was the offensive coordinator at Miami. So leaving there and heading to SMU, I think it's good. I think they're kind of staying familiar with what they had there with Sonny Dykes.
It's a great hire from SMU's perspective for their continuity. But
yes, agreed. We already talked about Jake Dickert, the interim, getting the full-time job at Washington State. We talked about Tony
it's fine. We'll see.
Right? Yeah, it's fine. We'll see. Texas Tech hired Joey McGuire. We talked about that already. Louisiana Tech hired Sonny Cumbie, who was the former offensive coordinator
for TCU.
Yes, former longtime offensive coordinator. He goes and gets a job. And then the other ones we've talked about already before, the smaller ones. Open jobs before we move on. Currently in the country, there are 7 currently open at the moment. Notre Dame and Oklahoma being the 2 massive ones. Those we will talk about when they get filled and who ends up getting those jobs. We'll talk about that later on for sure. And then we also have Louisiana's open because Billy Napier left. Temple is open, Troy, Akron, and FIU.
Oh, really?
Tyler,
FIU's open?
FIU is...
You have anything you want to say about that?
Oh, man, they are in shambles. That department is in shambles. Well, I don't have enough time to get into the FIU shambles department. We're going to move forward, though, because let's go ahead and talk about Florida's victory over FSU 24-21 in a rivalry game with an interim head coach and with Emory Jones deciding that he did not want the football in the first half. He just didn't want it. He kept giving it away.
I do want to clarify that I want to point out to the audience. Me and my dad watched this in a hotel room in Arizona where we were spending Thanksgiving. And it was funny to me because the final Emory Jones interception, the one in the end zone as they were driving to end the half, my dad spoke the words moments before, just don't throw an interception. He just got kicked. And it happened. I about tackled my father. But credit to the coaches that are still there.
Yeah, man.
One of the better defensive performances. UF was eaten all day from a defensive line perspective.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis. It's so funny because my FSU friends, they told me it's just like, here's the deal. If Jordan Travis played, we have a shot. If he doesn't play the whole game, we don't have a shot. And my friend Christian was like, the moment Jordan Travis went out for like 2 drives, was like, yeah, that's it.
Let me say this. He is much better than I remembered.
He's good.
He's good. He can make plays himself. He can make reads.
Once again, though,
pretty good, man.
Mike Norvell's offense continues to work like he did at Memphis, where it's like nothing, explosive play.
Yeah,
nothing,
man.
explosive play, then nothing for like a quarter.
This is what you paid for, FSU. This is what you paid for.
But Anthony Richardson, Dameon Pierce. Those are the 2.
I can't believe Dameon Pierce is going to get drafted solely off of a play that technically didn't count.
Yeah. And it's funny is that I knew the rule, and
me too.
So I was like, I knew it was getting called back.
Me too. I was the one explaining the rule in the group of people that was watching.
I had to do that to a lot of people over text. That was just like, this is one you actually can't get mad about the refs for because it is like the refs did the right thing. They did their jobs. It's just a stupid rule.
Which, by the way, I don't think it's a stupid rule. It's there for player safety. And what we're talking about is Dameon Pierce at the goal line, or near the goal line, had his helmet knocked off and then ended up scoring, but like a madman, was just going through and being tough and ended up getting in the end zone and stuff. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful like expression of, oh wow, this guy's got heart. This guy,
this
but
is
he had to end up
swamp. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I get why the rule's there, but one of those things
though,
of like,
where it's like, I get why it's there. I get the attention behind it, and I get it. But it's also like it constantly penalizes players who are not at fault, in my opinion.
Correct.
David Pierce didn't take off his helmet. It's like, now to call if you go back and you're like, all right, by rule, the ball is dead when his helmet comes off. I get that. It's that they enforce 15-yard penalties on top of that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
For somebody else ripping Dameon Pierce's helmet off, and he's doing a football play. He's obviously going to continue to do stuff.
He's a football player. He's playing to the whistle, and you know what I mean. Like he keeps going and stuff.
So that's the thing. However, this game was ugly in like a great way.
Yeah.
Like in an
it was a sickos game. It was a sickos game that we just happened to be like invested emotionally in it.
The fact that the Gators won really helped me love it.
Oh, for sure.
If we lost, it would have been like, this was not even an entertaining game to lose. But
I just wasted 4 hours.
the moment that when Jordan Travis was out for a little bit, Florida had a chance to take advantage. Emory Jones couldn't do it. He couldn't capitalize on it. They eventually put Anthony Richardson in, and then the offense started to seriously produce. And that's just the way it is. And
that's
it's
just the way it is.
That Dameon Pierce won't be back for another year. But pretty good way to end your season. It's the thing that's nice though is that, and it's just like Anthony Richardson is poised to take the job going into next year.
Oh yeah, it's his job.
It's his job.
And I know there was speculation from people in the fan base of, is he going to stay? Is he going to transfer? Blah, blah, blah. But he then tweeted out a picture of him in his Gators uniform with the caption, "Scared money don't make money," which we now know, Tyler, is the mantra of the next coach at the University of Florida. One Billy Napier has accepted the terms. He will be coaching Louisiana in the bowl game. So Tyler, we have I'm sorry, not bowl game, in the championship game.
Conference championship.
We have a conference championship game Saturday, as far as I'm concerned. As far my coach is coaching a conference championship.
A conference championship game. Which, that's the thing I will say. For all of these coaches that left, it's very clear. Like, to me, Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley doesn't go to USC if they beat Oklahoma State is part of it.
No, he doesn't.
Then he's going to the championship game. He ain't courting that call.
Yep.
Like, then they win. They probably go to the playoff. Like,
it's a different story.
And then we could go all day about Notre Dame. But like Billy Napier's leaving his team, but he's coaching the conference championship game. I don't want a coach who wouldn't coach his team's conference championship game. Bowl game, I understand skipping it for your new job. I really do. Like, it's like when Scott Frost didn't for UCF, that was like a special thing, and I get it. But like, you don't skip your conference championship game. And
no,
my honest God, my opinion on Billy Napier would change if he did it.
Yeah, no, like, I think it would be a red flag. It would be a red flag for me. But I think let's talk about the fit with Florida. Why is Billy Napier a good hire for Florida? We've been talking about it a lot. We've had questions from friends of ours in group chats of, you keep saying an CEO style coach. What does that mean? Why Billy Napier? Why is he such a good fit? Talk to me, Tyler. Why does he work for Florida? Why was he our number one choice?
For me, it was the way he runs the Louisiana program from a holistic perspective, like very disciplined, balanced on both sides. And at Louisiana, now he hasn't had to do this with quarterbacks, so that is something that I will be looking forward to going forward, because Levi Lewis has been the quarterback for all this time there. He has had to constantly change NFL draft picks at offensive line, running back, other positions, and like, he's continued to produce. Levi Lewis, good quarterback. Offense is good. Everything I've read and everything's like, he runs it very much like Nick Saban runs Alabama. A history of good recruiting, a history of good coaching. It's more of like, Dan Mullen was so strong in one area, and he could do a lot of things in other areas, and his recruiting it was fine from a like coaching college football perspective, but his thing was that it wasn't good. Billy Napier to me looks like he's going to be good across the board, solid across the board, which for me is maybe just what Florida needs right now.
Right.
But additionally, Billy Napier likes to recruit. And I think that hit a lot of angles for people, like, honestly. Honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to right now. I want a coach who can recruit and a coach who understands the importance of recruiting. And let's just be transparent here. Like, I didn't watch every Louisiana Raging Cajuns football game. I've watched a lot over the last couple of years. Like,
but we've gravitated towards Louisiana.
More than many Gator fans. But, like, I didn't watch. I don't know all the intricacies of following the program. But they lost their opening game this year to Texas, and then they went on an 11-game win streak.
Scared money don't make money. Not
all of them are blowouts, but, you know, not all of them are blowouts. There are a lot of close wins, but they were wins. So, and
I think...
Go ahead.
I think for me, what you said hit it there with recruiting specifically. I wanted 2 points, right? 2 points. I think the Nick Saban of it all, we talk a lot about like, oh yeah, you know, there's been a lot of programs that have gone the Nick Saban tree route and it has not worked out for them. And I think that's because we have entered a new era of college football where simply being good enough coaching and X's and O's on one side of the ball is not enough to make you a successful head coach in college football nowadays.
No,
at least not at the level where Florida wants to be competing, which is contending for national championships, right? It's not enough. You need a CEO style coach that can look over everything. And one reason why I'm not really afraid of the whole, the former Saban assistants don't work with Billy Napier is because Billy Napier wasn't just like an offensive coordinator. He wasn't just a defensive coordinator, just an analyst that was there, you know, hanging around. He was like just Saban's guy.
Yeah.
So much so that if you look at his history, if you go to his Wikipedia page, on the right side where it like lists the places he's coached, it does not say Florida State. But when you look in the actual like article, no, listen, no. This is no. There's a point to this, Tyler. There's a point to this.
Okay.
But when you look in the actual text, there's a section that reads he was hired by Jimbo Fisher. Because he went Clemson offensive coordinator, he then left Clemson, he went to Bama. From Bama, he went to Colorado State. He followed Jim McElwain, which might be the only like scarlet letter, I guess, from Florida into Florida fans' perspective.
Which really doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. But went to Colorado State and then was hired by Jimbo to be the recruiting coordinator for Florida State. Jimbo Fisher, in the midst of having his national championships and in the midst championship singular, I'm not giving you more than one, Florida State. In the midst of his national championship and his high level recruiting and stealing Dalvin Cook away from Florida, in the midst of all of that, said, I'm going to get this guy to coordinate and run my recruiting. And then he was there for like 2 weeks. And you know who realized, hey, this man is in the same recruiting territory that I am? Nicholas Saban. He called him up and he said, no. You're coming back to Bama and you're going to be my recruiting coordinator. That is how like how much faith and how much belief Nick Saban has in one by the name of Billy Napier. So he's not just a normal Saban assistant, right? He's I don't want to say groomed because, you know, he doesn't have him under his wing, but Billy Napier is the type of guy and has the drive that he has taken meticulous notes and he runs everything the way he wants. There's a great article in The Athletic from September or October. I want to say beginning of November, actually. Beginning of November, because it was around when LSU opened. Because the whole article was, and LSU should be going after this guy.
Oh,
and
that's
that was
weird.
what the profile was for. Oh, that's really strange. Anyway, no, but in that piece, it dissects his routine. He plans everything down to the minute. He plans everything down to the second. Everything has a purpose. It's a mentality. It's building a culture. It's building a routine. It's doing things the quote unquote right way. And that's what to me is important because listen, our offense was not the problem with under Dan Mullen. It has now been coming up to the surface that there was a massive culture issue. Did you see the stuff that the players tweeted about not really having a nutrition plan under Dan Mullen?
And you got to realize, they don't have a coach right now to hold them accountable, like a true head coach until Billy Napier walks in. Do you realize how much it has to be for players to say that openly?
Oh, yeah.
And like, yes, we are entering a new age of player empowerment, and I'm all for that. But that's still like to tweet that, in which case you're putting it out there to the world of, Gator fans, which, we know fan is short for fanatic. So keep that in mind.
Right.
That was the case. And then Nick Savage, the strength and conditioning coach, was actively fighting against that and was trying to get them a nutrition plan, and they didn't have it. We beat Florida State on Lunchables, apparently.
Hey, I guess we know why they keep giving out free queso when the Gators score more than 60, 70 points, right? But that's the point where I think it's someone to come in, be the adult in the room, put together things, what we need, and hopefully be able to be there for the long run,
More than anything is that, like, Billy Napier wins, and it's a really tough thing to do when you're picking. There is an element of failure here that isn't any coach hire, even coaches we know a lot about. He's a young up-and-comer. So out of all of the big hires of the big schools, we were the one that chose to get the up-and-comer out of the G5. Has worked out great for some schools. Has worked out not so great for others. And the reality is, I don't buy there's an argument for Florida should not be his first big-time coaching gig, which I think is stupid because look at Kirby Smart.
Correct. Another guy who, by the way, I can't believe I'm going to give Georgia and Kirby Smart credit here, but I'm going to swallow my pride and do it. He was another one that wasn't your average just scheme guy. Yes, he was a great defensive mind and was defensive coordinator, but he was doing a lot of other things.
He's one of the best recruiters in the country.
Exactly. There was more to that than just, I'm the defense coordinator at Alabama, give me a job, Tennessee.
There's also a matter of like we have to be honest. Alabama assistants that get hired now have not been doing as bad as Alabama assistants that are previously hired. You have to be honest about that. It's trending in a more positive direction.
It is.
Maybe Nick Saban is hiring. I don't know. Nick Saban is the GOAT, and his greatness spreads everywhere. Yeah. But
he realized his one flaw was that his assistants weren't successful elsewhere, and he said, I'm going to be the best at that too.
But additionally, again, there's an element of failure to this. But I do think, here's the thing. I've seen this said, and this is kind of my closing thoughts on why I think Billy Napier is a good hire as well. A lot of people, hire was made before Lincoln Riley to USC and Brian Kelly to LSU, who Scott Strickland would not have known were on the market, except for apparently he did know that Brian Kelly was on the market because rumor has it Brian Kelly contacted about the Gators job, and we left him on red.
We said no.
Which I'm okay with because look at where Florida is trending. Billy Napier is going to get to sell a lot of recruiting time. Facilities are about to open up. These brand new athletic facilities Florida's opening up. There's a lot that you can sell about Florida right now. In Florida, at the very least, the second best job as a program in the SEC East at the time being. Like, when Texas and Oklahoma is, I don't know how that would restructure to pods. That might change. But Florida is a program you can win a national championship at. It holds it's the best program in the state. It holds a lot of sway for these kids. You have a lot to sell. And even with a lot to sell, Dan Mullen wasn't recruiting, wasn't selling. And Billy Napier has a lot to sell is my thing. So it's probably a good idea for Florida to not break the bank on a big name splash hire, which I'm not a believer in splash hires just because they're splash hires.
Right.
Like,
the splash hire isn't always the right hire.
Yeah. So we'll see.
We'll see. I think my last thing that I want to say, and then I know you got to get going and we got a lot to talk about. I think that we need to, just like we talked about with Dan Mullen, Mullen was the right hire at the time. It just didn't work out. Right. So it had its good moments and it had its bad moments, but it was the right hire at that time. Let's not do revisionist history. I don't want us to look 5 years down the road. And even if we are having great success, you know what I mean? I don't want us to go 5 years down the road and, see Lincoln Riley's on his fourth Pac-12 title and second national title. And maybe, Brian Kelly has won the SEC or something and all this stuff. And maybe, people go, we should have hired them. Like, let's not do revisionist history in a few years because we know that A, it wasn't a possibility for us because this was happened way before. And B, I still believe that culture and that thing that was instilled is the right decision for the Florida program.
Yeah, I agree.
Not the flashy, not the all that stuff.
You
Will I take
want-
Lincoln Riley as my coach? Absolutely, I would take Lincoln Riley as my
Well,
coach.
Lincoln Riley was not leaving Oklahoma for Florida. He left
Correct.
Oklahoma for a team that's not going to be in the SEC. If he wanted to be in the SEC, he would have just stayed at Oklahoma.
Or he would have taken LSU.
Yeah.
Those are the two options. Yeah.
So Lincoln Riley was never on the table.
No. So,
but I think not having to break the bank is probably for the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I agree. And I think that money's better suited going around the coordinator pool and going around the recruiting budget.
Well, that's the thing. The recruiting budget was apparently not very, very big under Dan Mullen, which is a huge indicator of where that situation was. I'd rather spend money on that.
I would definitely rather spend money on that. Exactly. You want to know why I'd rather spend money on that, Tyler?
Because scared money don't make money.
Because scared money don't make money, baby. I think that's good to leave it on there. Let's move on. All right, we got some limited time, but we got to go ahead and talk about these games from rivalry week. I said it right that time, Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's start on Friday. Cincinnati 30. You're welcome. Thank you, buddy. Cincinnati 35, ECU 13. Just wanted to point it there. When Cincinnati needed to kind of put their foot down, they put their foot down. Congratulations to them.
Undefeated Cincinnati.
Undefeated regular season. They're still sitting at number 4 in the playoff rankings. Hopefully they can win this weekend, and hopefully the committee lets them in, man. We'll see what happens. Iowa 28. These games are all Friday until I say otherwise. Iowa 28, Nebraska 21. Congratulations.
Brutal.
I'd like to go ahead and just say it now. I know Barnwell from ESPN has made this joke a lot, but we're just going to go ahead and hop on it. The greatest 3-9 team of all time.
How is that even a sentence? Is the thing
every single one of their games was decided by single digits. Every single one of their games was single digits. Insane, my friend. Listen, Scott Frost's going to get one more shot at this. One more shot next year with a revamped staff. So we'll see what happens, man.
More than he should get, but
more than he should. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
NC State 34, North Carolina 30. Tyler, this game was insane. I watched this game.
I didn't get to watch it at the time. I've heard, but I was keeping the score updates on my phone. I was just like, oh, that must surely be the final score.
No,
no, it's not.
So North Carolina was winning by 2 possessions with about a minute 50 something left, I want to say, to the point where I was at our friend Matt and Carson. Carson actually went to North Carolina, so we were watching the game. And I looked at my buddy Matt and I said, Matt, I think that's a wrap, my guy. We were getting ready to go, and we spent the whole day watching football there. It was awesome, blah blah blah. All right, man, I gotta get going, whatever. And we were like, oh, let's just wait till it ends. And then NC State scored a touchdown, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Let's wait till they won't get the onside, right? And then they get the onside kick, and then NC State goes down and they score another touchdown, and all of a sudden NC State has won this football game, and they stormed the field, and it was a really good feel-good story because if anyone knows anything about North Carolina, it's that NC State, more than anything in the world, wants to beat the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So good for them. Good for that crowd.
It's too bad that Mac Brown. It's just too bad the media is giving up 14 points with less than 2 minutes left in a 2-possession game.
That darn media. That darn media,
my
friend.
Darn freaking media.
Oh man. Arkansas 34, Missouri 17. I put this game in here because it is the first time ever that Arkansas has won their 3 trophy games. They get a trophy for this Missouri game. They get a trophy against LSU, and they get a trophy against A&M. Congratulations to them. Pretty good season. Sam Pittman doing some good things over in Arkansas. And then the last Friday game here, I'm contractually obliged to mention that the war on I-4 ended with UCF 17, USF 13. For those of you that know, I have an emotional attachment to someone with an emotional attachment to UCF. And so that was a game. That's the reason I went over to my friend Matt's house to watch that game, because Matt also went to UCF. That's a game that is a game that happened. That game did exist. Yes, it did. So yeah, that was on Friday. Tyler, the Iron Bowl, Alabama 24. This is now Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. Alabama 24, Auburn 22 in 4 overtimes. 4 overtimes.
Jeez.
The insanity. I just want to say,
Brian Harsin, you're a coward.
Number 1, yes. Number 2, Brian Harsin, get vaccinated. Number 3, I just want to say,
yes,
I just want to say, I have been saying for weeks, maybe a month and a half, I want to say. I was saying, if I got a feeling about the Iron Bowl, man, I think Bo Nix can pull this one out. I think it can happen. And he got hurt. And I'm telling you, Tyler, if Bo Nix was the quarterback of this Auburn team, they would have won this football game. They would have won this football game. And it may have been in regulation and not in 4 overtimes.
I agree. So full disclosure, after the Florida State game, I missed a window of games on that Saturday because my father and aunt wanted to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I had to rewatch those games later. I got out, and it was a great movie. I got out and I was like, what's the score of the Iron Bowl? I'm like, it's the middle of the fourth quarter and Alabama has not scored.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was rough for them.
Like, what the
It was rough for them. Oh, wait, I got to document that. No. You suck, man. You suck. You suck.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'll find it. It is the 33-minute mark in the third part of this episode. We've had more technical difficulties, guys. Sorry about that.
That is an expression of just how surprised by that I was.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But hey, man, they pulled it out even in a bad, because this is objectively a quote unquote bad Alabama team. They're not a bad football team. They are a bad Alabama team. And they still won 10 games and are going to be, or 11 games. Sorry, they went 11-1. And they're going to be playing in the SC championship game. So, that's what a down year at Alabama looks like. So,
yeah. Too bad.
All right, quickly running through the rest of them. Baylor 27, Texas Tech 24. This is important for the Big 12 championship game, which we'll mention in a little bit later. Put a pin in that. BYU 35, USC 31. Congratulations to Pac-12 South champions BYU. Congratulations. Aplauso.
Man,
they deserve
they're even better this year than they were last year.
Yeah, I know, right? And they lost a first-round quarterback, which is insane. Good for them. Good. I'm excited for them to be in the Big 12. I'm excited for them to come over. I really am. It's going to be nice to see them playing over here on the side. I can't wait for like a BYU UCF game.
That'd be cool.
That'd be a fun one. You know what I mean? It'll be a good time. So. LSU 27, Texas A&M 24, LOL, and also Coach O wins his last game as an LSU Tiger coach. That man is going on a vacation for 4 months, and good for him. Go ahead, my friend.
He ain't doing anything productive anytime soon.
He ain't doing anything.
It is hilarious to me that Jimbo Fisher can be the first ever Saban assistant to beat Nick Saban, and still will lose games like this.
Oh, I know.
He's being paid all this money, and they haven't had a really better year than last year.
No.
In a COVID year.
No.
Which was like a two loss year, I believe, for them.
They ended up going 9-2 because then they played the 10-game conference schedule, and then they played in the bowl game. So yeah, man. I know, insane. All right, moving on, and then Houston 45, UConn 17. Just to put, Houston lost their game to Texas Tech in the beginning of the season, haven't lost since. 11-1, good for them. It's going to be a good conference championship game in the American. Running through the 5 wide real quick. Ole Miss 31, Mississippi State 21 in the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. I picked Ole Miss. I get the points here. Mike Leach does not like kickers. That's just all I've taken from this game.
That's the only thing you can take away from this game.
It's about the only thing, man. About the only thing. And also, like, Lane Kiffin being like, "Oh, we shouldn't hate people for cheering for."
Even if you believe that with his pride, you should never say it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? It's the Egg Bowl. Irrational hate on Thanksgiving for another fan base simply because of the school they went to is what I live for.
It's the Egg Bowl too. The two fan bases that probably hate each other the absolute most.
Oh yeah, it's horrific. It's horrific. So I get the point on that one. The Apple Cup, Washington State demolished Washington 40-13. Washington was waiting for their next coach. That was just
Washington gave up.
Yeah, they gave up at that point. I get the point on that one. All right, let's spend a little bit more time on this one. Michigan 42, Ohio State 27.
Okay,
I'm going to give you the floor because you have been an advocate.
I have so much crow to eat. I got an empty stomach, haven't eaten much today, so I have a lot of crow to eat for this moment. Michigan, props to you, honestly. Like, first of all, this game was an aesthetic. This game was a vibe. Like,
this game was
my friend was at this game, and he was texting me pictures. It looked immaculate. Like,
that's awesome.
Now, he did say he couldn't feel his toes, but honestly, I feel like that would have been a plus at that point. And Michigan was basically winning from the go, from the jump. They didn't lead the whole game, but they basically controlled the game from the jump.
Right. Can I pause you?
Yeah.
Can I pause you? I got breaking news. Notre Dame defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman is the leading candidate to be the Fighting Irish head coach. Sources have told
Good
ESPN.
for him.
Very good for him. Deservedly so.
Their offense coordinator Tommy Rees said he is going to stay. So
he said that. He said he's going to stay.
He did announce to the team that he's going to stay.
That's cool because there were reports that Brian Kelly was trying to get them both down to LSU.
Notre Dame released a video of him addressing the team saying, "I'm going to stay." Like,
that's how we do it. We put the video evidence on Instagram, on the Twitter. That's what we do, ladies and gentlemen.
And now that Marcus Freeman is the same. Interesting.
We'll talk more about that in the next episode. Just wanted to give out that breaking news because it happened as we're recording. Please continue, Tyler, about the Ohio State Michigan game.
Michigan beat Ohio State up on the line of scrimmage, which is how Oregon won in their previous game. Michigan just dominated them, running all over. Caden McNamara was pretty good. He had some insane throws, some really good throws. I mean, he's not like an elite quarterback or anything like that, but he's got that very Jake Coker thing to him where it's just like, you'll be selling insurance in probably like 5 years, but you can make some throws. Like,
but you'll be selling really good insurance.
And Ohio State was able to move the ball on offense a little bit, but it's just their defense could not stop Michigan's running attack. And I just didn't expect that. It took Jim Harbaugh a long freaking time to get here, but he did it. It's very much a Mike White Florida basketball situation.
Stop it. You stop it right now. You stop it right now. We're not even 10 games in. We haven't hit conference play.
That's not on me. Never mind. Okay.
Let's.
That's more the fact that he's beaten FSU one time now. It took him forever, but for Jim Harbaugh, it's very different. Like, this team is really good, and I have been, because I just was like, I was not going to believe Michigan would beat Ohio State until I saw it happen. Now I saw it happen. I believe more in Michigan as a team. The only thing that I feel a certain way about now is that Michigan will likely make the playoff if they can beat Iowa. Which I think they will do.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
So Michigan's going to make the playoff for the first time. That's great. It does not bode well if you're biased like me and don't want Georgia to win a national championship.
Okay, hold on, because
Michigan proved that they're way better than I thought.
I was going to say, man, because we thought Ohio State had the best chance to beat Georgia, and look what they did to them.
That's
so I know transitive property is not a
theory. It's an evolving theory because Michigan and Georgia played very much the same type of style, and I don't know if Michigan's better at that than them, but because it's like you don't, just like Alabama teams, Georgia's very much the same way. You don't really beat them playing their game. They play their game the best. Thing is, I thought Ohio State was one of the teams that could beat them the other way, but it's an evolving thing because now Ohio State couldn't beat Michigan. Both things might be true, that Ohio State isn't as good as we thought, or Michigan's better. Both might be true. Ohio State could be just as good as a team as we thought, and Michigan's just way better than I gave them credit for. So we will see. I'm glad this happened for college football, though.
Me too.
I think it's better that this rivalry is a rivalry, and it does not become an Oklahoma State series.
Correct.
Which
speaking of which, Tyler, let's go to that game because the transition is always good. By the way, neither one of us get the points because we both picked Ohio State. We also both picked Oklahoma, and that did not pan out well for us. We did not get the points there
because why would I think anything different?
They lost to Oklahoma State 37-33. This game was referenced earlier in the show because it was the impetus for it wasn't the impetus, but if they would have won the game, we don't think Lincoln Riley would have
that lead to Lincoln Riley leaving don't happen if
I think they begin with Oklahoma losing Bedlam. I think that's the kickoff. Oklahoma State's defense is legit, like Georgia level legit. I know that they allow more points and stuff, and Georgia is by far the better defense. I'm not even. They're not on the same tier as them, but they're a tier above your average defense.
Correct.
And I think that was fan-freaking-tastic, man. It was a good game. It was an exciting game. It was crazy.
It was a fantastic game. Competitive. The thing is, Caleb Williams had several shots to win that game in the last drive, and Oklahoma State players came up with defensive plays. One in particular, Caleb Williams broke off a huge run, and he could have broken loose if not for one Oklahoma State player tackling him.
If he breaks that tackle along the sideline, he scores.
And the next play, he throws a ball to Jadon Hazelwood that is in Jadon Hazelwood's hand as he crosses the goal line, just to be knocked out by the Oklahoma State player as it crosses the goal line.
Insane.
The cleanest defensive play, incredible. Those are two instances where one play from Oklahoma State defensive player saved the game. Props to them. And I suppose props to Mike Gundy for finally, I think, getting his second win in this series.
I think so, yeah. Props to them, all that. Especially props to defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, who basically took like a bunch of kids that no one wanted from the state of Oklahoma and turned them into the second best, second or third, depending on how you view Cincinnati's defense in the country. Billy Napier, bring that man down. Bring that man down. There's been reports of him that's he's a candidate. I'll put it that way. Yeah, that's one of his targets. So bring that man down. But Gundy has said, he's like, no, I don't want him to leave. He's staying in Oklahoma State. So we'll see how that goes. Neither of us get the points on that one. And then Oregon State 29, Oregon 38. Tyler picked Oregon. He gets the point on that one. This game went how you expected it. It was a typical Oregon game from this season. The defense allowed a lot of points. The offense did just enough to win the game. That's pretty much what happened.
Basically.
2-point conversions. Tyler, you picked Clemson to beat South Carolina, and they did so by a score of 30-0. Clemson said, listen, we may be having a down year, but we ain't losing to South Carolina.
We own South Carolina.
This is our state. So
they shut them out.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Brett
so
Venables
good for you.
His job.
He is good at his job. Brett Venables might be good as a head coach somewhere, maybe in the state of Oklahoma, but we will talk about that at a different time. And then my 2-point conversion was Minnesota beating Wisconsin, and they did so 23-13. Row the boat. Thank you for exposing this. How do I put this? Thank you for exposing this overrated and overhyped Wisconsin team. So shout out to PJ Fleck for doing that for us. The count and the score to date, I have 55 points. Tyler has 48 points. We each got, I got 4 points from this weekend. Tyler got 3 points from this weekend, but that is okay because Tyler, we have to do our final 5 wide of the season. I have put into the document all 10 conference championship games. We are going to pick them, and we are going to make one of them our 2-point conversion for the week. So we're not going to have like a separate game. There are 2 games that are not conference title games that are being played this weekend, but we're going to ignore those. We are going to do it this way. Are you ready to go, Tyler? Let's go through these games.
So wait, let me clarify this.
Yes.
So it's the same on and off, and I go first.
Oh, I forgot to say that. No, because it's the last week, and because no offense, but you're losing by so much. You are going to pick first each game, and you also get first dibs on picking the 2-point game that you want. Because we can't pick the same 2-point game. They got to be separate ones. So you're going to get first choice.
So, okay. If I pick it after we pick some, you can go back and pick a 2-point for.
So basically,
you want me to say which one is my 2-point right now?
No, we'll do it at the end.
Okay.
We're gonna pick the games, and at the end, after we pick the games, you will pick first each time, and at the end, you will say, "All right, I will be picking this game as my 2-point, and then I will be able to choose from the other 9."
Cool, gotcha.
My 2-point. Cool,
great, amazing.
Let's do it, my friend. Conference USA kicking us off on Friday night. Western Kentucky taking on the UTSA Roadrunners. It's a 7:00 kickoff on CBS Sports Network. Tyler, who you got?
Okay, so torn here.
Okay.
Because UTSA, it's really good. But I, by the way, just won
There it is.
The Sideline Judgment College Fantasy Football group.
Congratulations,
and
my friend.
It's because of one person in particular. That's Bailey Zapp, quarterback of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. So I'm going to go with Western Kentucky on this because no one else got me, I know Bailey Zapp got me.
Do you know the story of Western Kentucky's offense for this season?
It's just throw the ball.
Okay, but do you know where it came from?
Indulge me, like enlighten me.
So they basically had like a mass. They basically went and hit the transfer portal, but rather than like getting a bunch of players from other schools, they went strictly to Houston Baptist and they got the offensive coordinator, the quarterback, your boy, the running back, and I think 2 of the wide receivers. And they were just like, cool, do all this cool stuff you're doing at Houston Baptist at the FCS level. Yeah, come do it at Western Kentucky. And it started off a bit slow. It did. It started off slow. And then it worked, as you know, because you picked up that quarterback and he won you the league. So it's a lot of offense, and it basically was just imported from Houston Baptist. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So I'll go with Western Kentucky.
Tyler, go ahead and put an S down next to UTSA. I'm not abandoning the Roadrunners right now. You kidding me? Meep. They may have lost the game last week. All right, it happens. Okay. Still 11-1. They're still playing at home. They're still in the Alamo Dome. Come on, my guy. Give it to me. Okay. I will take UTSA. Staying on Friday night, we got the Pac-12, the number 10 ranked Oregon Ducks taking on the number 17 ranked Utah Utes. It's an 8 o'clock Eastern kickoff on ABC on Friday night. This game will be played from Las Vegas, from Allegiant Stadium. So cool venue, cool stadium. Tyler, who do you have?
I do not think Oregon will lose the same way, will lose or even play the way they did when they first played Utah. I'm going to pick Oregon because I feel like it'd be very hard to beat a team that way twice. And I think
I agree.
Oregon's going to right the ship.
I agree. I think it's difficult to beat a team twice. I don't think they're going to play the same way. I just don't think that they can beat Oregon or they can beat Utah.
Okay, so you know what I mean? Utah?
But it's not going to be the way it was last time.
It
was a much closer game, much more exciting. And honestly, I'd much rather be on the other side of this exciting Pac-12 game on a Friday night, just so I can, we can be on opposite sides there. It's a more fun viewing experience. You know what I mean? Just giving myself some fun. So I'll take Utah on that one.
All right.
Let's move to noon on Saturday. It is the Big 12 title game. The number 9 ranked Baylor Bears against the number 5 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. It's a noon kickoff on ABC. Tyler, who do you have?
I am going to go with that defense we raved so much about, which is tough, which is funny because Dave Aranda is the other head coach. But considering Baylor's dealing with a little bit of a quarterback situation with their starting quarterback, he was injured, didn't start their last game that they still won. And got them to play in this championship game, and their backup played very well. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma State because that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I saw that defense play. Give me Oklahoma State. I think this is what I will say though. I'll take the under. I don't know what the under is, but I'll be taking that under, my friend.
That would be smart.
It is. I'll be taking that under. The MAC championship game, Kent State versus Northern Illinois, noon kickoff on ESPN. Tyler, all the MAC teams are the same. So
all the same.
Who do you want?
I'm going to go with Kent State because randomness.
Give me the other one because randomness. Let's have some fun with this.
Let's be real here. I didn't watch either of these teams play.
Listen, these games are on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. We're either recording the podcast or doing some other stuff. All right. Yeah. So that's our life. The Mountain West championship game, Utah State taking on the number 19th ranked San Diego State University Aztecs. It is a 3 o'clock Eastern kickoff on Fox. It is on Big Fox, so good for them. They're on national television, 3 o'clock Eastern. Tyler, who you got?
Give me the one ranked team. I'm going to take the San Diego State Aztecs.
Give me what should be future Heisman Trophy winner, whatever the punter's name is for San Diego State. I will also take San Diego State on this one. Tyler, the Sun Belt Championship game. It is App State taking on the number 24 ranked Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. Our coach, Billy Napier, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Who you got, Tyler?
Come on. Yeah.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here, guys?
We can't.
My coach is in a conference championship game. Come on. What am I going to not go for him? Am I going to not pick him?
We're picking Louisiana.
Scare money don't make money, baby. Come on now. They also dominated when they met up earlier this season. Again, similar situation with Utah and Oregon. I don't think it's like a domination again because it's much more difficult to play a team a second time. But I do think that they win. I do think Billy Napier is one of the few coaches that can really get his guys to buy in, even though they have all of this other noise around them. You know?
Yeah, for real.
Go Gators. I mean, go Raging Cajuns. Listen, I'm telling everyone, I'm winning a conference title this year. I'm claiming it.
My coach.
I'm claiming it. It's my coach. I'm claiming this title. We're going to put a banner up in the swamp for the Louisiana Sunbelt Championship.
No, we're not.
I took it too far. All right, Tyler, the SEC championship game, the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs take on the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. It is the not 3:30, but because it's a title game, it is the 4 o'clock Eastern CBS game of the week. Tyler, who you got?
Guys, I don't want to do this. I really don't. And I know I've said often that I wouldn't pick Kirby to beat Nick Saban until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick Saban's team, not Nick Saban, but Alabama this year has given me no reason to trust them going up against a team that has done nothing but be trustworthy in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts my heart, but I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs to win this, as much as it pains me to say.
You know,
if they are in the fourth quarter scoreless against Auburn, who has a good defense, I want to clarify,
mm-hmm.
but how are you going to beat the best defense in the country if I got to win this too. So I'm going with the logical pick.
I get it. I understand. And look, if I wasn't so ahead in this picks competition, I also would do it. But you know what? Because I'm so good at picking these regular season college football games, Tyler, I have enough insurance in the bank that I don't have to sell my integrity. I don't have to sell my fandom away. As much as I think Georgia's going to win this game, I'm going to take Alabama because here's the thing, I kind of, from a logical standpoint, because I want Cincinnati in the playoff, I need Georgia to win this football game.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, then at the very least, I'm a seal the deal with this competition, if that's the case. So give me Bama, because this is a hedge. This is a hedge. I'm hedging, baby. I'm hedging on this one.
It's fundamentally you to do that.
Fundamentally me, baby. The American Conference Championship game, the number 21 ranked Houston Cougars against the number 4. That's right. You heard me. Number 4 ranked Cincinnati Bearcats. 4 o'clock kickoff on ABC. Tyler, who you got?
We've made no qualms about it on this podcast.
Nope.
That we are a Cincinnati Bearcats supporting podcast.
Absolutely.
Supportive of their rightful path to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't stopping. They ain't getting stopped right on the doorstep. I'm going with Cincinnati.
Put my initial down next to it, Tyler. I can't just go on that little rant and then not go ahead and pick the Bearcats. Come on now. This is a Bearcats podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Big Ten championship game. The number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines against the number 13 ranked Iowa Cyclones. It is an 8 o'clock Eastern kickoff on Fox. Tyler, who you got?
I'm going to go with Michigan because I do feel that Iowa could win this game. It's there. It's a possibility, but Michigan's playing really well. And again, in a game where Iowa and Michigan play the same style, although I do think that Michigan's offense is a little bit more modern, Michigan does that style better.
I agree. I'm going to pick Michigan.
Conference championship game that Michigan's ever played in.
Mm-hmm. Their first appearance. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I will take Michigan as well. And also, I want to point out, listen, shout out to Jim Harbaugh, because the man has decided to donate all of his bonus money to employees of the University of Michigan that had to take a pay cut due to COVID-19 over the past 2 years. If he makes the playoff, it will be a minimum of $2 million in bonuses that will be going back. I think currently it's about $1 million. And if he, because then it's another $500,000 for winning the conference, and then it's another $500,000 for making the playoff. So it would be $2 million if they make the playoff, which if they win the game, they should. So credit to him. Fantastic thing that he's doing. Great guy. Good job. Good job. I understand why people would want to play for him.
Extremely awesome thing right there.
Yeah. Makes enough money as it is. Give it back to the people. Respect it. I respect it.
Yeah.
And then the last one, Tyler, the ACC title game, the number 15 ranked Pitt Panthers taking on the number 16 ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff on ABC. Who do you have?
This is actually one of the toughest pick for me.
It's weird, right? It's like shockingly.
Wake Forest, I do think, is a better team. I do think that Wake Forest is a better team. But Pitt's got Kenny Pickett, man.
I can't believe we're like giving Pitt. Like we're talking about Pitt unironically. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be nice here. I know you want to pick Kenny Pickett, and in the interest of points and something to have something to bet on, I will pick Wake Forest.
Thank you, my friend.
So that I can allow my good friend Sergio de Esprella.
Thank you very much.
To pick Pitt, which I'm just going to go ahead and write down because I'm assuming that's what you're going to do.
That's what I'm going to do, because if you've looked at my gambling rules, Pitt, rule number 5 is just Pitt in all caps. And that can mean many things. It doesn't necessarily mean take Pitt. It means Pitt, because no one pits better than Pitt. They can break your heart whenever you want.
They'll never be able to get rid of Pat Narduzzi now if he wins a conference championship.
Good. As a neutral, as someone who loves chaos, good.
Yeah.
I want Pat Narduzzi to be the coach during that backyard brawl. I want him to be the coach during the backyard brawl. I need that chaos in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will be taking Pitt. Tyler, what is your 2-point conversion? Which of these games are you making your 2-point?
It's the game that I personally might be the most invested in.
Okay.
I'm just because I so want it to happen now. I'm taking Cincinnati.
Okay.
I want Cincinnati in the playoff. I want this to happen so bad. So
respect.
I'm taking Cincinnati. That's my 2-point.
I respect it. Great job. That was an option for me. I was thinking to just go full Gator and just take Louisiana, but I think it wouldn't be me if I didn't just make one irrational gamble on Pitt. So I'm going to make my Pitt decision. I know my brand. I am going to take Pitt and make them my 2-point selection for this week. It's in the cards, Tyler. It's in the cards. I need to do it, because who knows? Maybe I lose and it's a 3-point swing and all of a sudden it's a game for us. It's just, I gotta, I brought this girl to the dance. I'm leaving with this girl from the dance. All right, buddy. This is what's going on. I'm doing it. Tyler, that was a long episode. We talked about a lot, but I think a lot of good conversations, a lot of good coach talk, a lot of conference type championship game talk. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off after this mammoth of an episode?
Silly season's the best season, man.
Like, it's not a season anymore. It's a mood. It's a state of mind. It's a state of mind, you know?
Yeah. I've said so much. I need some water.
Listen, we'll be back next week. We'll talk about the playoffs. We'll talk about the final rankings, what happened in conference championship week. And then, Tyler, we also will be having our bowl extravaganza coming up within a couple weeks. Our annual bowl pick'ems. It's a long podcast that we enjoy having. And then other than that, we will be in touch, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on and being my gracious co-host throughout this entire season. Not the regular season is over. There's no one else that I want to do and dive into this crazy world that is college football. There's no one I'd rather do it than you, my friend. I'd rather do it with. The sentiment is very much
is reciprocated. There's no one else I'd rather do this with.
Good to hear. Oh, absolutely. All right, brother. Love you. You got to get going. I got to get going. This has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, Tyler, but scared money don't make money.
Scared money, it don't make money.